Wow. Let's talk Ahsoka episode 5. I just finished watching Ahsoka episode 5, and what a great episode. I want to do a quick breakdown of the episode, my initial thoughts. I'm just having a very hard time wrapping my head around all of it at the moment. Initial score, though, for the episode, I want to say 9.5 or a 10 out of 10. It was great. I really have no complaints out of it after the first watch. I'm going to watch it again maybe another time or two this week before I make my final opinions on it, which I will put out on The Force with Friends this Friday. But just first watch, amazing episode. I have zero complaints. Working chronologically through the episode, it did not start in the World Between Worlds, which kind of surprised me, but I wasn't disappointed about that. I like when we get things in Star Wars that's a little different than we expected, not crazy or anything like that, but starting off with Hera and her crew looking for Ahsoka and Sabine, I thought was a good start to the episode. I was really happy with how much of a focus we had on Jacen in the episode as well. So obviously he's with Hera as she's searching for Ahsoka and Sabine. We see him interacting a lot with Chopper, which is just great to watch. When Hera told Jacen to get back and stay with Chopper, and then they heard what ended up being Huyang on the ledge of the cliff and Jacen hides behind Chopper, I thought that was such a funny scene, and it was great just watching how Chopper takes care of him. That was very cool to see. Then though, we do jump into the World Between Worlds, and it did not disappoint. We start with Anakin and Ahsoka in the World Between Worlds, and they start to have a conversation, and it comes to the point to where he essentially tells her he's going to finish her training. What that looks like is Anakin and Ahsoka having a lightsaber duel in the World Between Worlds, which it looked amazing. Hayden Christensen still does a great job as Anakin in lightsaber combat. It's like he was just filming Revenge of the Sith yesterday, and it's been like almost 20 years. So that was incredible to see. We then jump back to the other side with Hera and the crew and Jacen and Chopper, and Jacen senses something in the water. I love how they're playing into how force sensitive he is, even with Huyang confirming it to Carson Teva at one point. But Jacen senses something in the water, and he has Hera listen, and he can hear the lightsaber duel that's going on between Ahsoka and Anakin through the force. And somehow Hera ends up hearing it, or maybe she just goes along with the fact that Jacen knows. I think that's a little vague, but it did appear that she could hear it too, oddly enough. So they go out, they start combing the water, trying to get closer to find Ahsoka because they know something's going on in the water. We then jump back in. Anakin and Ahsoka are still dueling, and she ends up getting the ground cut out beneath her from Anakin, and she falls down into, not a portal, which is kind of what we were expecting in the World Between Worlds, but the scenery just changes, and she finds herself in the Clone Wars, and it's a younger Ahsoka and a younger Anakin. He's wearing his Clone Wars attire. She's much younger. She has her green saber. Very cool to see the clone troopers as well. But Anakin teaches Ahsoka a lesson, or at least he's trying to, that she has to just keep fighting. But on the other hand, she doesn't want to fight anymore. So we get some tension there, and we see Anakin and Ahsoka having a little bit of an argument, and as he marches off into battle, we see kind of lightning flashing or something with the screen flashes, and we see him going back and forth between himself and Darth Vader from the back like a silhouette. So it's cool to see that mix between Anakin and Vader in all of these scenes, and we see that going forward as well. The next scene we're transported to with Ahsoka is actually the Siege of Mandalore. So she's wearing what she wears in Clone Wars Season 7. We see her killing one of the Mandalorian troopers. We see Captain Rex. We don't actually see, Tamora Morrison with his helmet off or anything, but we have the voice. It's certainly Rex. We've always been wanting to see Rex in live action, and it finally happened. As short as it was, that was very cool to see. But in this Siege of Mandalore scene, it's actually the Revenge of the Sith Anakin that is back and talking to Ahsoka, saying that he doesn't remember this battle. So Ahsoka has to explain that they had parted ways at this point, and they talk a little bit about the Siege of Mandalore, but then we go into a fight between what appears to be Vader, though not in the Vader costume, but as actually Anakin with a red saber, yellow Sith eyes. He and Ahsoka fight. It goes back into the World Between Worlds, so they're walking on the platform there, and Ahsoka actually bests Anakin in a saber duel, or Vader in a saber duel, and it's a very intense fight scene. Anakin is not going easy on her, but she ends up disarming him, and she says that she chooses to live. And apparently this is what completes her training. We see Vader Anakin transform back into normal Anakin, and he tells her that maybe she does have a chance. From there, we see the water returning, and Ahsoka is rescued out of the water by Hera and her crew, and we start the next maybe 15 or 20 minutes of this episode in seeing how they're going to go forward in finding Sabine. I do like that it was a very measured approach to the world between worlds. It wasn't all the portals here and there. As a fan, we all had a lot of theories about what was going to happen, a very long wish list about what was going to happen. You know, we wanted to see Darth Maul show up in the Siege of Mandalore. We wanted to see that Mustafar scene that had been rumored. None of that happened, but I don't find myself disappointed in the least. We didn't see any crazy Easter eggs. We saw Captain Rex and some clone troopers, and that was pretty much it as far as Easter eggs go that I noticed. It was a very measured approach. It stayed focused on Ahsoka. It is her series after all, so it does make sense that it would stay focused on her. And almost as quickly as she is in it, it seems that she is out and she is making the plan to get to Sabine. After she wakes, we see that she is dressed in her white garb as Ahsoka the White, and it symbolizes that she is back and she is ready for this mission. And from here out, I think it's going to be a very different Ahsoka that we see. Very confident, very much the master. She has completed her training as far as we are concerned from what we saw with her and Anakin in the World Between Worlds, and she is ready for the task that is at hand. We do get a little bit of the New Republic drama where they just want to crash the party that Hera is having to try to get Ahsoka to Sabine and to stop Thrawn. That's been the theme the whole time, and they continue it here as well, but we actually do get a reference to Senator Organa, which is referring to Princess Leia, that she is stalling for them a little bit, but apparently she couldn't stall very long because the New Republic does show up and they do try to crash the party, but fortunately they weren't able to fully rain on the parade. Ahsoka is able to figure out what happens to Sabine by doing a Force essence, kind of like Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor, where she senses an area or an item and kind of gets an idea of maybe a memory that Sabine had there. And so she knows that Sabine made the jump, but she knows there's not a way for her to make a jump as far as a map goes. So she goes and she talks to the Purrgil, which are above the planet, and she communicates with them and ends up using the Purrgil to jump to hyperspace, Jonah and the Whale style. So she goes into this very large Purrgil, and we see an incredible scene at the end of this episode where all the Purrgil are leaving the planet right in the face of the New Republic ships, and the episode closes with Ahsoka and Huyang inside Ahsoka's ship, inside the Purrgil, making the hyperspace jump. So that is back-to-back episodes, essentially, that finish with a hyperspace jump. Episode 4, we see the bad guys making the jump in the Eye of Sion, or the Ring of Sion, or something like that, and then we see Ahsoka making the jump in the Purrgil this episode. Where do we go from here? I'm assuming the next episode is a lot of New Republic drama mixed in with what is happening with Ahsoka inside the Purrgil, and probably catching up with the bad guys, with Morgan and Baylan and Shin and Sabine, wherever they landed from their hyperspace jump. Maybe we even see Grand Admiral Thrawn. But overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I'm excited to watch it again another couple times this week. Maybe watch it episode 4 and 5 back to back. But I think it's probably the best Star Wars episode that I have seen as far as these series go. Definitely up there with the season finale of Mando Season 2. Definitely just as good as last week's episode in Ahsoka. I think Star Wars fans are going to be happy with this episode. If you made it this far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.